Thanks, neighbor. I used to get to work all the time with Christine, and we haven't done something together for a while. So this is kind of fun to be part of the program today. What an amazing program. I have so enjoyed hearing all of the speakers, some of whom I've collaborated with for many years, and some that are new to me. I loved hearing about the Chesapeake Bay work. I lived in the DC area early in my adult life, and I'm just really impressed with all the work going on there. So thank you for inspiring us, Carol. I want to just start with a little bit of background. Some of you, the Jordan River is probably really familiar. Some of you, it may not be. So I'll give just a little bit of background. The Jordan River Parkway and Watershed are a central part of the Wasatch Front. The Jordan River is this really unique river that connects the two largest bodies of water in the state, Utah Lake and Great Salt Lake, traveling through the most urbanized part of the region. In fact, there is almost none of the area surrounding the Jordan River that is not incorporated in a municipality any longer. I think a little bit here in Davis County, where it kind of enters the Farmington Bay wetlands. And other than that, it's pretty much wall-to-wall city around the Jordan River. So it's a really unique environment. It has a lot of challenges because of this urbanization that's happened around the river over the last 150 years or so. It is a really important connective thread for wildlife, migratory birds, and species that live here year-round, and is also increasingly becoming a really important recreation asset. Some of you have maybe been on the Jordan River Trail and experience this incredible trail network that now connects Ogden to Provo, over 150 miles in this Wasatch Front spine of 7 trail systems that connect together. The reason we exist as an organization is because there's a lot of different jurisdictions that have different parts of the regulatory framework for how we manage this natural resource. There are 16 cities. When I joined the commission, it was 15. Mill Creek Incorporated a few years ago. And we just, about 2 weeks ago, for the first time in the history of the commission, we now have every local government that touches the Jordan River as part of the commission's membership. Utah County was one of the original organizers of the Jordan River Commission, and then they dropped out about the time that I joined the staff in 2017. And Utah County just rejoined, and since they left, we've also had the last few municipalities join in 2018 or so. So this is a really big milestone for us. It's great having all of these local governments that have so much regulation over the river all participating very actively in this partnership. Just a little bit about our organization. As I mentioned, we were created by an interlocal agreement in 2010. And we currently have all 16 cities and all 3 counties that touch the Jordan River. We have an appointee from the legislature, although that space is vacant right now. Jeff Stenquist, a representative from Draper, didn't win his primary last year, and so we need to get somebody reappointed. We have an appointee from the governor's office. We have 3 state agencies, Department of Natural Resources, Environmental Quality, and most recently, the Department of Transportation was added. We have 6 special districts, mostly utility districts, but also including Utah Transit Authority. And then we have 16 partner organizations. These are businesses and nonprofits and land managers and others that are stakeholders in the Jordan River that are appointed to serve on our board by the interlocal agencies. And it's just a really amazing partnership. Those partners include Tracy Aviary and Hogle Zoo and Audubon, the Jordan River Foundation, which is a 501c3 partner, Rocky Mountain Power, and Larry H. Miller Company, who's doing a big development in the ballpark or the Fair Park area of Salt Lake City. So a lot of different stakeholders in the Jordan River, all interested in its health and vitality. We're organized with a governing board with representatives from all of these now 32 government agencies and the 16 partner organizations. Just a little over a year ago, the Jordan River Commission was certified as the Jordan River Watershed Council, which kind of expanded our focus as an organization, not just the narrow area around the immediate vicinity of the Jordan River, which had been the focus for many years, but really looking at the whole watershed and the Watershed Council structure, which was adopted by state statute in 2020 by Representative Tim Hawks at the time, has really expanded our view to thinking about the whole watershed of the Jordan River in our work. We also have a technical advisory committee made up of all the people doing the work on the ground. These are planners and public works engineers, parks and recreation and land managers, community development organizations, and others. We have a number of state and federal agency partners that work with us, Fish and Wildlife Service and the Utah Reclamation Mitigation Conservation Commission. We also have just a ton of education and other partners. So when we talk about partnership and this unique kind of waterway in Utah, it really is an incredible partnership, and there's a lot that we've been able to do through this. The focus of my remarks today are around the kind of Riparian Toolkit, and I want to just share with you a few documents that are part of this extensive toolkit. First of all is the Blueprint Jordan River. This document was originally created in 2008. We did a major overhaul and update in 2022, a few years ago, and this identifies what the kind of the broad basis for helping improve the Jordan River and surrounding lands and environment with a lot of public input. We had over 8,000 participants in 2020 and 2021 that participated in this update to the blueprint. Not surprisingly, people see the Jordan River as being very important, which that bottom graph shows, and they also view the Jordan River as an opportunity for nature in the city and restoration and conservation activity. The two highest voted elements of the Jordan River by far were restoring native habitat and creating a healthy environment for nature, and including some areas that have very limited human access. And fortunately, we have a few of those. The structure of this blueprint focuses in these 7 key areas: habitat and natural systems, water in the river. Not surprisingly that those are the top of the list of strategies that we're focusing on. Comfort and inclusivity, recreation, safety and well-being, development and transportation, and then finally communication, education, and art. Some other documents that we've created as a framework for helping to have a healthy riparian area include this best practice guide that my predecessor, Laura Hansen, was heavily involved with developing with a lot of, I know there are a few people in the room here that were probably involved with this as consultants and advisors. This is a document that helps guide development happening and redevelopment happening around the Jordan River to help use developers as partners in accomplishing these big community goals. Finding better ways to build with a lower impact, enhancing open space and habitats as part of development, carving out areas that can return to nature or improve the natural environment, creating compatible recreation opportunities. We absolutely know that the more people experience this sliver of nature in the city, the more that we have advocates helping to speak up for the things that the river needs. The development of our water trail over the last few years has taken that to a whole new level, because when you're in the river, you really see the harm that a lot of the history of development around the river has created. In 2017, the Department of Natural Resources and Forestry, Fire and State Lands, Environmental Quality, and other partners created the first comprehensive management plan for the Jordan River. And all of these things kind of create this high-level guide that helps inform local governments and other partners about things that they can do. We were really delighted to see Salt Lake County in their comprehensive plan that they adopted for the unincorporated areas of Salt Lake County just a few years ago. Some really remarkable things. One of them is this shoreline heritage area, which is the interface of the Jordan River and the shoreline of Great Salt Lake, particularly around the Farmington Bay area. This includes some really aspirational goals. Of course, many of those goals are not yet codified, but we have, because of this plan, created a working group that's working exactly in this area around the interface and the confluence of the Jordan River and the Great Salt Lake, and doing a lot of work. Many cities have adopted comprehensive plans. I think there's at least 4 communities right now that are updating their general plans. to help further enhance and develop the areas around the Jordan River. This is one from Salt Lake City, and it has some really great strategies. This was adopted in 2015, just a few years after the Jordan River Commission came into existence, and just a couple of years after Salt Lake City joined the commission. And it really allowed the city to kind of rethink its relationship with the Jordan River. It identifies tools like transferring development rights to create that breathing space around the river, not limiting private property rights, but finding tools and mechanisms that allow private property owners to transfer development that they might otherwise do right up to the river's edge into other locations that might be more suitable and appropriate. And it's been really interesting to see the development community really starting to embrace. Now, Utah County is the only jurisdiction I'm aware of that has a transfer of development rights program adopted in their statutes, their development code for Utah County. But we are working to try and encourage other communities to do the same. The last thing I want to touch on out of this toolkit is this Riparian Ordinance Toolkit. This was actually a project in the Environmental Studies program a couple of years ago at the University of Utah, and some really remarkable students that went out and did research about what exists around the state in terms of ordinances and policies that help improve riparian corridors. This actually set the stage a year ago during the legislative session. Representative Galen Benyon, who represents the two Cottonwood Creeks and Cottonwood Heights area of Salt Lake County, put together a proposal. Justin and others, and Eric and others, were really involved in this legislation. We had a working group of over 50 individuals. It lost by one vote on the House floor, which was really discouraging. But we haven't really slowed down. We know that we won't, absent having a state policy, we just need to continue working on what's happening at the local level. But this guidebook identifies those three stools of livable communities: economic aspects, social aspects, and the environmental aspects. And those all really have to work together. And you'll see a great success story if you're going out on the Ogden River tour today. These are the basic elements of what a local ordinance might look like. There's a purpose statement. You talk about what the application of that purpose statement is. You may have maps that identify the riparian areas of a community, whether they're a river or a creek or a stream. There may be permits that are required that require a special level of consideration, including information about, what are the elements of the riparian area that are most significant. These are, not surprising, often habitat and natural areas and wildlife. There's general standards that might be included that talk about what the relationship is with the riparian area. And then finally, if there may be variations or modifications to those guidelines, how can those be addressed? And then finally, in enforcement. That's kind of the parameters of what a local ordinance might look like. To date, we have 3 jurisdictions that have adopted overlay or zoning ordinances around the Jordan River. Salt Lake City was the first of those. I was heavily involved with that when I was on the city council in Salt Lake back in 2008, 2009. Lehigh City has adopted what I think is the most expansive view of the Jordan River. They have a 300-foot buffer on either side of the Jordan River, which is pretty remarkable. And especially given all the growth and development that's happening in Lehigh, which is that hotbed of the fastest growing region of the state and the fastest growing state in the country. And they've done this really remarkable planning program to help preserve and conserve those areas. This is just a snapshot of what's included in Salt Lake City's ordinance that shows, different zones within a 100-foot setback of streams and the Jordan River, and what can happen within each of those zones. Some are vegetation focused, some are non-building, non-parking lot focused, but other improvements and manicured landscapes, and then, buildings and parking lots fit further back. There's also some really great resources that are out there. Salt Lake County has created a stream care guide for businesses and residences that are located very close to riparian areas. So in addition to the regulatory framework, there's a lot that we can do with education and other resources. And, all of these things together kind of work in concert to help improve. I know our focus is on riparian areas, but we can't not talk about water. And there's some things that may be considered that address water issues, and particularly water quality within this framework as well. There's 3 key water strategies that we're really interested in the work we're doing around the Jordan River. First is getting more water back into the streams. That means conserving water, reducing the diversions. The Jordan River is almost 100% diverted at the point of the mountain into all the canals that feed industry and agriculture and culinary water systems and things like that. Getting more groundwater, getting water back into the ground, not just, when we started paving things 100 years ago, you got to do something with the water, and we put it into pipes and then send it to our natural waterways. And we're kind of learning some of the consequences of that we really do need to find ways to get it back in the ground. And then improving surface water runoff, trying to eliminate the contaminants and other things. I'll just show you a quick series of images here about, some of the reasons why this matters. This is the Jordan River in Lehigh. It looks really wonderful, and it is. It's a great section of the Jordan River to experience. This is what it looks like about this time of year when there's not much water in the river. We did a paddle the entire length of the Jordan River back in 2022, just as we were coming out of the pandemic, and we thought we'd try it in April. Not a great idea because they hadn't opened up the floodgates in Utah Lake yet, and they weren't evacuating water from Utah Lake like they did last year. And so we were just kind of slogging through the mud. It was a great experience. This is what the Jordan River looks like after the first dam right at the Utah-Salt Lake County line. It really is just a stream at this point. This is what it looked like last year because of all the water that was being evacuated out of Utah Lake. Sorry, my video didn't run there. Anyway, I was going to show you that the floodgates were just wide open, and there was about maybe 900, 1,000 CFS coming through this first dam, the Turner Dam, right on the Utah-Salt Lake County line. This is why it matters because, as I mentioned, the storm drains all lead to the Jordan River. This is, I think, a portion of the Dry Creek tributary down in the Alpine Highland area in Utah County. This is what it looks like as it continues through Lehigh. And this is just about a quarter mile from where this tributary meets the Jordan River. You can see the storm drain on the street and you can see the outlet. Usually this is all hidden under layers of earth and infrastructure. And here you can see it really directly. This is where the storm drains go. They go right to the water body. And if you don't believe me, I took a picture of the pipe so you can see the light at the end of the pipe coming from the street. These are streets at the top picture here. This is my neighborhood. We're trying to create ambassadors so that people know that no matter where you are, you're connected to all of these waterways. This is 2100 North in Lehigh. Even big streets have storm drains, and they usually enter right into the river. This is what the outlets look like from the river. You can see them all here, and often what gets associated with those, a lot of organic material and a lot of litter that ends up as a result of those. There are some really transformational things that are happening. I had a wonderful experience in Europe a few summers ago and took a lot of pictures from my tour there of great infrastructure that creates pervious pavement. And there's even some examples, great examples in the US. These are some of my favorite places in Seattle, in Chicago, in Cleveland, and even the Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District in West Jordan, which has great pervious paving. So I'll wrap up with just a few encouraging things. We're really, really pleased with this Localscapes program of Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District, which is getting people thinking really differently about what their yard looks like or the landscape around their business or their church or their school. We have this great initiative that we launched with the Jordan River Commission, first Friday and second Saturday, get people thinking about their connection wherever they are to the Jordan River through this Love Your Watershed program. There's some really innovative infrastructure projects going on. This is the Cornell wetland area in Rose Park of Salt Lake City. The engineer's right in the back of the room there. And this is a project that rather than just dumping stormwater right into the Jordan River, channels it through an engineered filtration system. This is the first active water treatment plant for a stormwater system in the Wasatch Front, and has really transformed what was really awful water coming in the Jordan River to what now looks like an emergent stream. It's pretty remarkable. We have incredible volunteers that are doing all kinds of work, cleaning the river, cleaning the streets, planting and things like that. I'll just leave you with this last image of what kind of inspires me. So just a couple of years ago in the fall, I had an opportunity to paddle the Jordan River. It was about a week after the first big snowstorm of the season in October. And this is the Three Creeks confluence, which peeled back some layers of infrastructure and opened up the confluence of immigration parties in Red Butte Creek, where they entered the Jordan River from a culvert. On this particular day, it was just getting runoff from that first heavy snowstorm, and it was coming out crystal clear. Usually the water I see coming out of the culvert of the Three Creeks confluence is after a storm event when it's just filthy. But on this particular morning, and I stuck my paddle down, it was 4 feet deep, and you could see the gum wrappers and plastic bottles on the bottom of the creek and read the labels on them. And it was pretty remarkable to think that, we could have water like this flowing into the Jordan River. So hopefully there's something in here that will inspire you. If you want to reach out and get more information, you can find the Riparian Ordinance Toolkit on our website, jordanrivercommission.gov. Feel free to reach out to me. And with that, I'll turn the time back over to Christine. Thank you and good luck.